So before COVID, I used to do a lot of owner karting, but I recently had to sell all my go-karts when I moved units. And today, I really just want to answer one simple question. Can you get back into owner karting on a sensible budget of £400? Now, I've set myself a budget of £400 because this seems quite a realistic budget for someone coming out of, say, rentals, just to get really on the circuit as such and actually get in some lap times. By the end of this video, I want a complete working kart, and I'll give you the full costing breakdown on exactly everything we spent money on, and we'll ultimately see if we can get this build under £400. Now, this isn't about building some box or the cheapest kart off Facebook Marketplace. I actually want a really good, reliable, respectable go-kart that I can just turn up to the track and it just work. A lot of Facebook Marketplace finds are generally not usable or require the same amount of money going back into them to get them up to spec to actually be able to use them. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you a full costing breakdown on exactly what I've spent, and we'll actually take the kart to a track and we'll see how well it actually can perform. So here we have our kart chassis for the build. It's a 2013 Wildcard chassis, and overall I think for the money it's in great condition. There's obviously some patina with the powder coating and some scrapes on the underside, but it is also a used kart, so we can't be too picky. Now, this chassis costed £200. It comes with all parts ready to make it into a rolling chassis. It just requires a bit of assembly work, but that's fine because we're planning on doing a different engine than what it previously ran. And yeah, I'm really happy with the kart that we've got. I think it's a perfect starting ground, ready for what we plan to do with the budget. Okay, so we're going to put the rear axle on before we actually strip anything off it. So we just want to really ensure you've got everything actually here and we're not missing anything. And the fixed brake system. So I'll just put these bolts in first so we don't cross-thread them. So the kart axle is in place. Doesn't look like we're missing anything. The sprocket is already inboarded. It kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what we plan to do with the engine. Right, so the front, mid section of the kart, we need to do the steering assembly. Another nice thing about the Wildcarts is all the parts are billet aluminium, so the quality of them are all really nice. So this is the fuel tank it came with. It's just an 8.5 litre fuel tank. We've had a leftover sticker from a previous kart we did, so put that straight on there. Okay, so that's the kart pretty much assembled. We've assembled everything that the previous seller has given us, minus the bodywork, and we'll come back to that in a later part of the video. But yeah, it looks pretty good. We're well on our way to getting this kart on the track. We've got all the fundamentals there. All the steering front assembly's on, the rear axle's on, the brakes are on. I'm happy with the seat. It was already quite good when I brought the kart. Now we need to look at the engine and decide exactly what it is we're going to pair with this chassis, and most importantly, try and keep it within budget. Now I know what you're thinking, a road tax would probably be an obvious choice to go karting, but ultimately it's not going to fit our budget for this build. Now I gave you a bit of a hint earlier with the axle. We have already inboarded it, so ultimately we're going to be pairing this with a 4-stroke. And I've already got the one in mind ready to go. Okay, so I've actually gone and already brought the engine brand new from the manufacturer itself, and it is a Hyundai GX212. It did start life as a generator, or supposedly a generator, but as do most Hondas. And I know we haven't gone with the stereotypical Honda, but it's also 3 times the price. And the Hyundais are as good, quality almost one-to-one as a Honda. So we figured why not just go with the cheaper option. Now we've also made a few basic modifications to turn what is effectively a generator engine into a kart engine. That including being a pulse pump and removing the governor to allow it to rev freely. We've also spent a little bit of money on top of the engine, including some engine mounts for the car and a clutch, which were both second-hand off eBay. Right, so we'll go ahead and bolt this onto the kart and we'll make any adjustments to it that we need to make sure it fits. Before I put the engine back on, I did give the rear axle a bit of a clean, just with some WD-40 and some fine sandpaper. And yeah, it came out great. I think it looks much better now. It is a bit of a tight squeeze, but ultimately this kart chassis is designed to take a two-stroke engine, so the clutch is on the wrong side. But it's just about in there and it's ready to take stuff like the fuel line and the throttle cable, but then this kart will be good to go. It has an engine. Right, so that's the engine on. I've gone ahead and done the chain tension and the sprocket alignment off camera, just because it's a real faff to do. But yeah, that's the engine in place and we will do the engine mount next. So it's the start of a new day and I want to focus on actually making this kart look like a finished go-kart now. So we're going to go and crack on with the bodywork and get this thing looking like a finished track-ready kart. So we're going to use the bodywork that came with the kart. It came with an FP7 Nasio nose cone, and it still has that aggressive look to it. It still looks fairly modern, so there's no reason not to use it. We could always upgrade the bodywork later on. And then the same again with the Nasio, just on the brackets that we put on earlier. So that's the bodywork all done. We just gave it a quick clean with some degreaser and it's all ready to go. And I'm going to finish off the look of this kart with what's next.
I'll be out the door before you know it's hold your breath. Last thing I wanna do is make a mess. 'Cause I'll be out of town, running around, surrounded by temptations. That's why can't I have relations? I'll be out the door before you know it's hold your breath. Last thing I wanna do is make a mess. 'Cause I'll be out of town, running around, surrounded by temptations. That's why can't I have relations? She said, baby, I want some more. I know you got a lot to give. I've seen you out on tour. So what's it gonna take for you to say that I am yours? Another year ain't on the table, baby, make it short. I said, nah, baby, you ain't that hot. So listen to me.
Thank you to One Custom Design for supplying the kart graphics for this build. I think you can agree the kart doesn't look like a cheap Facebook Marketplace find. Now this kart graphic is actually called the Charlie Kit. It's a pre-made design on One Custom's website, so you can buy this very design to fit your go-kart. Head to the link down below to view all of their pre-made designs. They've got loads on there. So you join me at Haynes Karting. They kindly lent me a wetsuit because we're joined by typical British weather. And we're going to see exactly what this £400 kart build can do. And try not to get too wet doing it. Now before we take this kart for a drive, I want to talk about the budget of this build and ultimately whether we were actually able to do it within budget. And so the kart chassis itself came in at £200. The engine that we're using, the Hyundai, came in at £140 base, plus £5 for the mounts and £5 for the clutch, both purchased off eBay. And it was £35 in fuel actually collecting the kart. So overall, we've come in well under budget for the £400 budget build, and we're actually going to see if it's now good enough to use on track. So we'll jump in the kart next. Recording. See if this. Alright, start again. The recording. We're trying out a new camera from this angle, but the only downside is you can't actually tell when it's recording once you've got the helmet on, so definitely worth double checking before setting off. Apologies for the microphone quality of the previous clip. It was only actually after recording this video that we realised we were filming this in the middle of a storm over the UK, so not the peak conditions to test the go-kart. And anyway, the budget go-kart is on track, and we're just going to take the first lap a little bit slow, just because, well, it's the first time we've gone and driven it since its rebuild, so the brakes still need bedding in. We gave them a quick service, but we just wanted to make sure nothing falls off before we start actually pushing the kart. So yeah, just a quick outing lap before we start hammering it as such. So overall, we spent £385 out of our £400 budget getting this kart on track. That was for everything you saw in the video, so the chassis, the engine, all the parts to get the engine actually bolted to the kart, and yeah, just the overall kart in itself. Most of the parts actually came with the chassis originally, so going from, say, a pile of bare parts to a fully working kart didn't take us that much. Obviously this kart hasn't been built to any race specification, but ultimately it could be converted to meet some race series standards with some simple changes such as a different engine, but you could also do a weekend rental to keep the budget in check. This sort of kart would be perfect for the Axis Karting series or other Thunder Kart series that require the one engine with a 4-stroke, and it wouldn't take a lot to get this race ready. So what did you make of the budget kart build that we did? I know there's a few things that I would want to change personally, like a different chain guard, just because the one that came with the kart was for the road tax, and we ended up modifying it to fit the kart with the different engine that we used. And it just looked a little bit janky, but it did still serve the purpose of a chain guard, so we ended up using it for this build. And the other thing was the kart seat countersinks. They just didn't arrive. We did order them and they were £5, but they just didn't arrive in time for filming this video. Overall, the kart performed better than I expected. We didn't have any issues throughout the day at all. It pulled brilliantly out the corners. The Hyundai didn't struggle at all. You'd never know that it started life as a generator. And the chassis itself, even though it was raining, it felt planted the entire day. Ultimately, the rear end did step out a few times, but because this kart track is so short, there's not a lot of option with some of the lines going through some of the corner complexes, so we were driving over the rubber that the corporate karts had put down. But overall, I thought the kart did great. I was really happy with it. Thank you to Haynes for letting us come down to the day and letting us use your circuit. They offer a great arrive and drive karting sessions down in Somerset, so make sure to go and check out the link in the description below. I really enjoyed making this video, and I do plan to make more content similar to this, so if you could consider subscribing to the channel, that would be amazing. Even leaving a like and a comment, it really helps the channel grow, and I would like to know what your suggestions would be, what we should do with this kart. Let me know anything you would have done differently with the budget. Ultimately, I tried to stick to quite a strict £400 budget in the end, but that only goes so far with this sort of build. So I am absolutely soaked after testing this kart out at Haynes, and overall I think the kart did amazing. You got to remember, this entire package costed less than £400, so I think it was money well spent. Thank you for the track for letting us come down. It was great testing the kart down here. I'll leave a link in the description for the track. They do a great arrive and drive karting down here. And that about wraps up this video for the £400 kart build. Please let me know in the comments below what you think we should do with this kart. I'd love to know what you think we should do with it. I've got a few ideas with different engines we should try on it, but ultimately I want to hear what you guys think. So yeah, leave a comment down below and we'll choose what to do with this kart next.